We call on the international community to execute the arrest warrant issued by the ICC against Vladimir Putin as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished members of the Security Council, Madam Undersecretary General, Madam Director, I also recognize here the representative of Putin's criminal regime in the permanent seat of the Soviet Union. Her boss has cowardly extracted himself from the chamber, but there is obviously no added value in his presence other than keeping the record of his statements and testimonies for the purposes of the future tribunal of Russia war crimes. It is a matter of alarm that, among other things, Russia maintains its capacity to harm Ukrainians from a safe distance beyond the reach of our defensive means due to the ongoing supply of weapons and munitions from rogue states. For over a year, we have consistently drawn the Council's attention to the transfer of Iranian drones to Russia in violation of the Security Council decisions. We also condemn in the strongest possible terms the DPRK export and Russia's procurement of DPRK ballistic missiles, as well as Russia's use of these missiles against Ukraine. As a country that has joined the joint statement on DPRK, Russia ballistic missile transfers, already referred to today by a number of delegations, Ukraine reiterates that these transfers are in contravention of multiple UN Security Council resolutions.
We call on the international community to execute the arrest warrant issued by the ICC against Vladimir Putin as soon as possible. At a time when Russia is spending billions to destroy Ukrainian civilian infrastructure, its own critical infrastructure is collapsing or falling into disrepair. Tens of thousands of inhabitants in cities around Moscow, such as Podolsk, Kolomna, and Balashika, have been left to their fate. Without heating, people are freezing in their homes in sub-zero temperatures. And as Putin's envoy in this chamber claims to be aware of what is going on and circulating on Ukrainian social media, I would recommend that he, from his warm, comfortable Manhattan apartment, take a look at the messages written by the inhabitants in his own capital and its outskirts. People are literally living in apartments that are covered in ice, and they are burning wood in the roads to survive. Experts are warning about the potential domino effects of the weaknesses in Russia's infrastructure. Nevertheless, the Kremlin regime seem not to be bothered about resolving the problems of their own citizens. They remain obsessed by a suicidal and senseless war, trying to kill as many Ukrainians as possible until it inevitably collapses. Let us not forget that the Kremlin is not just killing Ukrainians, but also Russians. Hundreds of thousands of Russian citizens have already paid with their life for Putin's maniacal dreams. These are not just generations of present Russians, but also future generations who will suffer from these decisions. If Putin can win any prize, it would be in a competition of Russophobes, because nobody as much as him has compromised Russia's future prospects and the prospects of its people. With Hitler and Stalin, he is primarily responsible for the thousands of deaths taking place every day in Russia. Whether it's on the battlefields of a crazy war, or the continued dramatic deterioration in people's living standards, the propagation of diseases, alcoholism, and drug addiction. According to the conclusions of some researchers from Yale University into the sanctions against Russia, and I quote, Russia is no longer close to being an economic power and has deleted the minimal declaration of statistics on a minimum income which is required to be a member of the IMF. Putin's Russia simply survives by seizing assets. The economy is increasingly dominated by the state, which is devouring its own companies to feed Putin's war machine. It is therefore in the world's interest to put an end to this criminal regime and to bring about comprehensive, fair and lasting peace in Ukraine.